Committee meeting.
All right, I will call Finance Committee to order at 6 p.m. Members present are, who are we missing? Mark. Oh, Mark's missing. So we got Kevin Myers, Terry Spiegel, and myself, Chair. Is there any public participation for Finance? Okay, so we move to approval of minutes from January 20th. I have a question here, I guess, for everybody. Just kind of throw it out there. I just thought of this earlier. We had the meeting on the 20th. We passed the legislation the following Tuesday that we had a meeting, but we changed these. We changed, maybe we didn't on the 20th, but on the other one we did. We changed the legislation. Remember? We had to go. So I guess these are the minutes we passed. So
Right.
we just accept them.
We just changed the legislation to reflect what the committee actually requested.
Okay. So I'll ask for January 20th and 27th Finance Committee meetings to be approved. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Then we'll move on to traffic light project. Somebody's here to talk about. Oh, there he is.
Mr. Dunn.
Mr. Dunn. What do we got going on with the traffic lights?
Okay,
You gonna fix them?
That's right. Council okayed $500,000 as a budget for this year for Lucas, East, and Hopley, Walnut, Mansfield, Mary and Walnut, Lane and Mary, and the Mary Street extension. And some of these projects is carried over from previous years that didn't get done. After the engineering looking into it, we're looking at $604,200, and that's only doing the engineering for Mary Street extension, not getting the project
What are
done.
we doing to them? I missed that one.
New poles, new control panels, those are the intersections we have issues in, and we're trying to correct them. The Mooney Fund's got $585,000 in it,
Yeah, pretty close to that.
and it comes into what, 5,500
$55,000.
Fifty.
About 55 to 60,000 a year.
a year comes in. So the fund will be basically drained, but we haven't done any projects for years, you know. We did Beale Avenue, we did Irving Street, and so now we're trying to update all these systems and everything. But with the cost of the poles, the cost of everything's going up.
What kind of poles are we're doing? The single?
Cross arms.
Yeah, like we do Beale
Right.
Avenue, Irving, the
The,
good ones.
the Lane Street and Mary Street would be cable. But the rest of them would be the poles. So we're looking at $604,200, and that would be just doing the engineering on Mary Street and East Mansfield only. You won't do the project this year. We'll have the engineering done for another year. I talked to Joyce. We have used the street fund for that in the past, and she said that money would be available to use for the engineering part.
And that includes all the crosswalks at the school too, right?
Yes, as we talked about taking the ped walks out, but then when the state changed some of the standards, and we have to have the ped walks back in there at East Hopley and Lucas.
Man.
So you're doing that East Hopley and Lucas, Mary and Mansfield?
Yes. And Mary Mansfield, Mary and Walnut, and Lane and Mary. And the Mary Street extension would just be engineering only this year.
Did you say Walnut and Mansfield?
Yes, it's Walnut, Mansfield,
Oh, Walnut.
Mary and Walnut, Lane and Mary, Lucas, East, and Hopley, and the Mary Street extension would be only engineering.
Okay, you guys got any questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mary Street's the only one that is just engineering. Everything else is completing the projects?
Yes,
So we're talking to add this additional, we're going to drain the Muni Fund pretty much down.
yes.
what is our projected cost for completing that project next year? Do we even have a ballpark?
Well,
guess?
I think I would have to go back and ask for that in the budget out of the street fund.
Okay. We don't know what that looks like
No, not
until
at
the
this time, I
engineering's
do
done, okay.
not, no.
And then on Hopley and East and Lucas, your original plan was to take the crosswalks out?
The ped walks was gonna come out, but they won't allow us.
Okay, all of them or just the ones crossing Hopley?
It would be all the ped walks that's there now.
Everything that's there stays there?
Anything the requirement would be for a ped walk would be put back in.
Okay.
Is
And
that-
that's what's driving up the cost, or?
No, it's just cost of
Everything.
everything. Everything's just jumping up in cost now.
So that's because it's so close to a school, is that why, or?
State route.
State
It's
route?
got
state
three
route.
intersections coming, and three different roads coming together. It's basically, they call it a dangerous intersection.
Okay. So it's a state saying, or someone saying it needs to be done, it's not, okay. Well, I have one question that's kind of irrelevant to this, but it is relevant to traffic lights. And Jeff may remember, a few years ago, we were looking at, we put money into the budget, we did it one year, and then we were gonna do it the next year, and it was for Whetstone, and I believe it was for one of the lights we took out on, is that River,
Mansfield.
not, what is that? Poplar, the Poplar Street extension there we took out.
Yeah, we eliminated Poplar.
Right,
Poplar and
right.
Mansfield.
But-
Bring in Mansfield.
And
We had got money for, I know Whetstone was one, Whetstone and Hopley was one,
Yeah.
they needed new controls and all that. Did we ever do that?
The controls inside of the box has been redone.
Yeah.
Not everything, just the control panel.
Right.
Yes, that's been done.
And the
That was
poles were
one of them,
painted, too.
we talked about putting arms up. Then we had some other issues, these other intersections have been more maintenance issues.
Well, I'm just
So we
checking
moved
to
to them.
see if we got what we put money in the budget for done last
Yeah,
time.
those things
I
got-
was hoping we did.
Yeah, those panels got done. Yeah.
But I was thinking, and I'm maybe off, but I was thinking one of what we allocated the money for was that one on where the Poplar Street goes across the bridge there. Is that Poplar Spring? That's Poplar, isn't it? Poplar Street.
Poplar and Mary,
We took that light out.
we
though.
took that out.
Yeah, but we had put money back for that, I
Well,
believe.
actually, that was a newer system. We actually took some of the control panels and used them on the other ones. That was there. I still have the control box at the service garage, but we gutted it and used different control panels and stuff that's in there for
Okay,
other
that's
intersections.
good. I just, in my mind, I'm just wondering what happened
Yep.
to all that, so. Okay, so here's my input on it. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of money and the budget was 500,000. Can we wait on a light? I know the prices are gonna go up, but prices of everything goes up.
I would think not, though. If once something happens to them, you're gonna have to fix it anyhow. Why not fix them now? If you got the money
Let's,
to do it.
okay, let's fix them all.
Well,
Everyone in
if
town.
somebody wants to fix, I mean,
No, I know, but I'm just saying,
if something would happen to one of them, you're gonna fix it anyhow, because they're pretty old, right, Jeff?
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm just saying,
I would rather be proactive than waiting for something to happen, let's put it that way. Then you're forced to do something, so, on my opinion.
or you have the money and it's not time for public participation. That comes a little bit later.
Dan, excuse me.
Yes.
The money is, we've been sitting with around 500,000 or so in the muni fund for quite a while. Inflation's been really tame, so we're not really getting anything on investments there. The money's not growing, but now we're getting to the point now where things are really starting to go up. And we found out in some material bids the other day, things are going to go up substantially. So these are going to last a long time, and then the money
think it's a good
we're
idea.
sitting there is just losing its value incrementally every year. So it's you consider. I
I
understand
know.
where you're coming from. It's good to be prudent and cautious with the money. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, we work, you guys, I didn't this time, but we typically, we work on the budget, this is what we're gonna do. And then, yeah, some costs go up, but this is $100 and some $1,000. And to your point, all these, we get all these done, and the one down on Whetstone Street goes haywire. Now what? We have no money in the muni fund.
We still have money in streets that we can use that for.
And then somebody's street doesn't get done. But that's okay. It's up to you guys. I don't know. That's just my opinion. If you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it, I guess. So I guess I'll ask for a motion to, what was it, 600 and?
604,200. Right, we already have 500,000 in there,
Right.
in the budget for that.
So we need another 104,000.
200, yes.
And
I said go ahead.
I'm not putting the 10% on it, so.
So we're asking to take 104,200 out of the muni fund.
No, that doesn't have that much in there.
Okay.
We're going to take 80,000 out of the Mooney Fund and use the 24,200 out of the street fund.
I don't have my budget in front of me. What's
All
the
right.
street fund have in it right now?
2.5, I think it's.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Ballpark guess?
Kurt, just so we don't get confused here.
It's been sitting around 2.5.
Is there any infrastructure money since Congress passed that infrastructure bill for like a grant that could potentially do streetlights?
I would hope so. I think we're waiting on that. That is an administrative job. They're looking into the funding last I heard, so. Good point, though.
Always is.
Well, it looks like we have about, after what we've already budgeted, at the end of the year, we have $32,000 left. That's what we already budgeted. So, you said you were gonna take 80 out of this?
Yes, that's what we looked at the other day.
24.
The street fund, you mean?
24.
24.2.
Out of the muni fund?
80 is what he said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you said 80, I guess I didn't hear it right.
80.
You want to take 80 out of the street fund?
No,
No, 24 of the street fund.
24,200 out of the street fund.
80 out of the
Terry.
Joyce, will you turn your mic on? Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you've got 80 to pull out of the muni fund, to me. With everything else that we've got budgeted.
Are you taking other things out of the muni fund this year?
We budgeted $21,660.94 in materials and supplies. And then the new traffic light, new equipment, we budgeted the $500,000 and 1,140 carried over, which has already been spent. So with what we calculated was going to come in, oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at two different things here. I'm sorry. My page was flipped here, and I was looking at street, too. The muni fund, we budgeted $92,527.33 in contractual services. In traffic light maintenance, materials and supplies, we got $21,660, and then the new equipment, we had $501,140. So against what we figure is going to come in this year, which is only about $63,500, that only leaves about $31,893.76 if we spend all of that. So you don't have another $80,000 to appropriate out of muni. Now, if you do it the reverse way and take 80,000 out of street, you could get your 24.2 out of Muni.
What's that leave in street if we do that?
We got an awful lot coming out of street that's budgeted. Whether we spend it all or not, I can't say at this point,
Well, that's why I'm here.
but that's not gonna leave,
Besides, it's fine with me.
it won't leave a lot in street fund either. We've got budgeted
So if we drop-
4.4 million in street right now.
So if we drop the Mary Street extension in East Mansfield, the engineering of 24,200, is there enough money for the extra 80,000?
Okay, if we drop what now? How much would that be?
Well, that's 24,200. The engineering for Mary Street extension in Mansfield is 24,200.
No, it's not going to.
I thought you just had 30,000, you said, and you had, how much in the street?
Well, I flip-flopped what you had said. You had said 80,000 from Muni, and I said, well, you could do the 24.2 from Muni, but the street is budgeted to the hill too. Now, there may be more money coming in than what we estimated, but I can't guarantee that right now. Is this something that we could put off for a month or two till we see what the revenues are?
I mean, if we
Is
have
that
to, I
engineering
guess-
going to increase more?
I guess we could drop off some and wait till another year, but we've done that for 3 years.
Right. I hear you.
But in the meantime, 3 years went by, the price went up too.
Right. I hear you.
So do we
But I
choose
can't
to
give
do
you a
East Lucas
quarter
and
if I've only
Hopley?
got a nickel.
Right, I understand that. The two most important ones right now is Lucas, East and Hopley, and Walnut and Mansfield. That's the two most important ones right now.
Okay, and those we've already budgeted for?
Yes.
Okay.
I-
And
We
those
thought we
shouldn't be a
budgeted
problem.
for all three of them, but
Yeah, I
price
know.
went up.
I know. Can Dylan sharpen his pencil?
I don't know. I don't know if he can or not.
Can I just suggest this? Let's just go with 500,000, get what you can, and come back,
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, figure it out.
table that for the moment till we figure it
table
out.
the rest of it. You got the 500,000, get going what you can get going, and come back and,
To that point, if there's other stuff that's been budgeted out that you might choose to do with that might fall lower on the priority list, come up with a plan and remove some stuff elsewhere out of that budgeted line if this takes precedence over it. But, I'm apprehensive to approve any more at this point, I'd rather reduce something else and take it off,
Okay.
just to be cautious.
so.
I mean, I'd love to see it all done, but
So would I.
I don't want to,
Yeah, well, I agree, I get it done while it's cheap, but, so if that's the case, then we really don't need to do
Nope,
anything.
I'll just see what I can get done for 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, or get started on it, and you come up with something, come back.
yeah, I mean, if
We'll be
something
here all
comes in
year.
under budget somewhere.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
thanks.
Yep.
Okay. EPA stormwater fee, that's just rewriting the, oh no, EPA stormwater fee, is that different than what I got?
Well, I think that's renewing the $7.20.
Is that what we were?
Or depending on the project that we're gonna take on. That ends in July. So
Right.
Between now and probably the end of May, we need to hopefully have it ironed out to come back to you and see what you guys wanna do with the wastewater plant. And find out what fee we need to go to.
Yeah.
Whether it's $10, $7, $8,
Do you get the impression that Laura's gonna have some sense of where we're headed by then to even know what we're gonna need to collect?
I don't.
I didn't gather that from her
No, I don't
speaking
think so.
Tuesday, and
So the study was gonna take, I think, what, 5 to 6 months?
Right.
9
But
months.
meanwhile, we can't just let this drop off
Right.
and,
so we could continue it at its current rate until we determine what's necessary and then adjust accordingly?
I would think so.
And what is required of us to
Yeah.
continue that legislation?
Yeah.
And I didn't review the last piece. Was that written with an end date in sight,
I think it ended in July.
Okay.
Or, yeah, it'll end this coming July, yeah.
So do we have any?
It was a 5-year, wasn't it?
I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure, because it was a 5 to 7 year plan with.
Yeah.
So would we be
USEPA.
wanting to look at doing this as an 8-year, knowing that she's asked for that extension going from 5 to 8, or do we do it as a 5 now, leaving it at its current rate, then adjust as the EPA
Yeah, I mean, you
makes adjustments to our plan?
could make it 5 years, and then when we get the plan to bring to you what we're gonna do, then we can look at it where we might have to.
So
adjust
5
it.
year at its current rate,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
without knowing what it's gonna need to go to, would that?
But that's up to you guys, I think that'll work, but US EPA isn't going away.
No?
What's that generate, you know? A year?
She does.
Five times 35,000 a month, would be about 400,000.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more than that, slightly.
We estimated 500,000 per year.
Okay,
If we continue this into a new 5-year at the current rate, and then there is some, a plethora of money that comes from the federal government, we can always resend it and go back and adjust it at that point, yeah?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't want to put
That's
anybody
up
on
to
the hook
you
if we
guys.
don't need it, you know, something else.
Well, with the direction we're going, we're either gonna do more separation, or we're gonna do,
Towards the
Something at the
plan.
wastewater
Yeah,
plant.
Okay.
so.
So we need a motion to do that? To take it to legislation, get it done, or not?
I don't know, is that what we're talking, or what?
That's what we're
talking
discussing
extending
now.
it to, we're talking to extend it to,
It expires in July, they want to extend it another 5 years. I don't want to raise it without knowing what they're gonna do. I'm content with leaving it, because we're budgeted for that, expecting to pay that now.
yeah, and I know we have to get this done, but it's a tough one for me, because I remember when we put that on, and, you know, it was 0, and it went to 720. And it's only 5 years, it's only 5 years, so now the 5 years are up. I know,
And we did a lot with that money.
I know we
We've done a
did.
lot over that.
I know we
5
did, and
years.
we probably need it, but
I think it's been longer than 5 years, though.
We signed the agreement at 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
it seems like,
But when we signed the agreement, I don't think we started collecting it immediately.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think we might have, I think that might, was that under you or Roger? Oh, the 720 was?
Yeah.
8.
Yeah, when I go out 8 years. Because that's the
Yeah.
projected cycle, next cycle for phase 2. And you can always, as council, come back and make adjustments as needed.
Yeah, that's not gonna
Mr.
happen.
Chairman?
Yeah,
We should have, I'm hoping by July 1st, we have some sense of what the EPA is looking for.
yeah, well, and that's
What we're
the,
gonna need there.
yeah.
The big question will be what we're gonna do with the plant, whether we're gonna go with a wet weather treatment facility or expanded plant. And we're gonna at least do one of those two. So we're gonna be needing the 720.
Well,
And we're certainly gonna
I-
need that. We should have a real
I
good.
definitely know we need it.
We're gonna have a real good idea by July 1st, even though the cost of the plant, and we won't have an idea until fall for those things.
So the current one expires in May,
July 1st.
July 1st, and then you're hoping to know sometime July,
Well, I-
August, what
I
we're
would
looking
hope
at doing.
Any day now, really, any week.
So, what do we want to do? Do we want to,
I think we should keep it on until another 5 years, at least then come back to it if we need it later. We can always.
I would not want to go more than 5.
Yeah, I don't want to until I see what the APA is
As far as
doing.
cost-wise.
Yeah.
Keep it at the 7, what is it, 7?
I would not go, I will not, you're gonna have to find money somewhere else if you need more than 720, because I won't go for that. I mean, I promised people 5 years ago, or 8, whatever, that this was gonna go away, and it's not, so. So, do I have a motion to extend this for 5 years, the 720?
So moved.
Are you requesting that as an emergency?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, maybe the rest of the council has a different idea. So. Anyhow, we'll see. What's next? Crawford County Economic Development Partnership. I just was kind of, I brought this up, and I just was wondering what everyone else thought, and rather than, I mean, this is where we have to do it. So we entered into this with them in November, December, whatever. And then,
Well, a little
Okay.
caveat to that, if
Yeah.
I can, Dan, is when that agreement was first signed in 15, I uncovered someone I was filling in the clerk's office that it was supposed to have been re-signed every year, and it never was. And so they did get an agreement signed that was shared with us a couple weeks ago. And that should hopefully continue each year. Mr. Mee had raised the question, he wanted to make sure, because in that original agreement from 2015, they were to come quarterly and provide updates, which they did periodically, but it definitely wasn't on schedule quarterly.
no, but
And for
COVID
many
came.
different reasons. And so that was one of the things that I think that, you know, when the mayor signed the contract with Mr. Frankhouse, that was discussed, and you know, it was put back on them, and it's expected that they're going to come back in quarterly. I see that they're still advertising for a director. I don't know if they've interviewed anybody yet. I don't know where that lays, but,
Well, that was kind of what, you know, and I'm not picking on anybody, but it's just, he signs this contract and then he quits.
No, he didn't, Aaron signed.
Well, Aaron signed the contract, but he knew he was quitting. That's the first I heard about when it came out in the paper. I would have
No,
thought we would have.
actually, we agreed to the contract long before he announced he was resigning.
Well,
And it's a contract with the partnership, not
with the
one
partnership,
person.
right. But when the executive director leaves, that kind of, I don't know. I've always had I've never thought that they've performed, I never thought they've earned their 50,000 a year, so.
Well, you were on council, you know, but when I presented it, if we're gonna do our own, that's great, but, you know, we're gonna need $350,000, so, $50,000 is much less than 300 to 350,000. We would be better served if we had our own, but we just can't afford it, so.
and I agreed with you at that point, Dan, too, and I did, you know, Mayor and I talked extensively about it, and you know, he showed me a lot of data on that, and, you know, to his point that, I agree with him, we would be a heck of a lot better off if we could do our own, there's just no money to do it. So the question then lies, is our 50 grand getting us something? Is that better than nothing?
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know.
And I think what we
We
need.
don't know because they don't come in and tell us.
Right, and I think that's part of what we need, you know, to make sure that they are here 4 times this year.
And then, after the first, then sometime in March, we'll either have a new director here, or we'll have Aaron Stein come and make a presentation, so.
I know nothing's gonna change, I just wanted to vent, so, okay, and, we'll move on. The splash pad, the only reason I brought that up was that I had some people asking about running all that water down the drain, so I guess let's talk about it. What do we think about running the water down the drain opposed to recirculating? I read everything, and yeah, it's gonna cost more, but we also have how many gallons in the pool? We have thousands of gallons of, we can't use that water.
You'd have to
No, that
repump
recirculates,
the
yeah.
entire pool.
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare.
bid, yeah.
I used to manage pools and, I read through the report, and while it seems like you're wasting the water, you're saving on the electricity, the chemicals, and everything else that you'd have to do to recirculate it. It would end up costing you more in the long run and pose more problems for equipment to break down. So
Yeah.
I think that they're barking up the right tree here.
Well,
I
and
think
it
we're
could
looking
be.
at it the right way.
It could be, like I say, I was asked that question and it was brought up.
The thing is, when we considered it, and I reached out to Upper Sandusky, who has a freshwater, like we had proposed, and they said, yes, it uses a lot of water, but they would do the same thing again. They've had theirs 4 or 5 years now, and they would have it fresh, just because of the cost. And
Right.
as we struggle to fund the parks, the extra $25,000 to $50,000 a year, where would we even get it? That's got to come from safety forces, and I don't think anybody's willing to do
No.
that. So,
Anyone have any questions on the splash pad? Now's your time. We got some questions.
So if it's freshwater, how much cost is it going to be to the homeowners? Because we're obviously have to pay for the water. So are those costs for the water going to go back to our water bill, or are they all going to go up?
there
Or
won't be any cost.
there's no cost at all for that? Okay.
There will be no charges to anybody.
Well, we'll be treating, what, 60,000?
Yeah, that's gonna cost us
We're
three
just gonna
to
treat that.
five, we figured that'd be $3,000 to $5,000 a year, based on the cost of chemicals, electricity.
We're treating it out there instead
Yeah.
of treating it,
Mhm.
basically,
Based on-
that's all
yeah,
we're
Based on
doing.
what we spend electricity, and then we divide it by,
And then we treat it before we put it back in the river.
Yeah, and the cost to treat it at the pool would be the same, if not more.
But that probably helps well, he's left now, well, you might know, that probably helps if you put chlorinated water into
Oh, no, that's-
send it
no.
down to the
By the time it
waste.
gets to the wastewater plant.
No,
it's just
send
pulled
it to
out.
the wastewater, doesn't that help the wastewater?
No,
Oh,
no.
It's a good story.
Chlorine would be terrible. to put
Oh,
into-
I don't know. I don't know.
That'd kill
Kill the
everything.
bugs.
That'd kill all the bugs. You don't want those bugs killed.
All right.
At
Well, I
that
thought
point.
Good clean water mixed in with all that other stuff,
Yep.
I thought it might be
Nope,
good.
nope.
All right. Any more on the splash
It just,
pad?
it dissipates out anyhow, so.
Well, so far, the only argument I've heard for why we shouldn't recirculate the water is money, but the thing that you guys sent, the number one argument was it was healthier for the fresh water, and you had
Yeah.
less cross-contamination and less chance of people getting sick. That's the first part of that whole article that was sent out.
Yeah.
Why are we not worried about health benefits versus whether or not it costs more money or less money?
because first and foremost, we're responsible.
Right.
Because this
Balance
is
the
finance.
budget, you
But
know.
the healthier one's the cheaper route, so say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
you're avoiding
I
that.
thought you were arguing
No!
that point, so
The
you're asking
healthier
why
route
we're
was the
not
cheaper
using that
route.
as a plus to share that with the
Yes.
community.
I mean, that should have been your argument.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't think about it because I know that's the cheaper route and I know it's the better route, so I didn't think about having to defend that.
Not
So-
only is this the healthier option for something for everybody to do, but it's also our most inexpensive option.
Yes.
You hear that, Dan?
Yes.
Right.
And that's what we said, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, I heard you,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Go back and check the minutes.
Yeah,
This is more of a request than anything else, so, and it may be in the plans. The water system's running, obviously. Is it on like a button, run for 15 minutes and it'll shut off in case nobody's there, or?
There's what's called a ballard there, and it'll sense that when people are there. It'll shut off if no one's there.
Perfect, okay.
Is it triggered by
light.
critters?
Probably.
not
Oh,
mine,
it'll
not
be
my
turned off
house.
at night.
Trash can up front.
Only in the
Yeah,
basement, it's here all the time.
Yours gotta take showers.
Oh, yeah.
let's go.
Threatened to in the basement. Okay. Any other questions on the splash pad?
Nope.
Okay. Now, Joyce, appropriations, you've been waiting all night for this.
I've been waiting all night for that. That's right. Okay.
Probably something in here.
We need some appropriations in the general fund. There were some other things I thought maybe we were going to do, but we decided to pare it down and leave it to general fund. And other things will be down the road. But under Program 1, Security of Persons and Property, we The police department received a grant for their continuing education of $6,010.80. I guess this is on a percentage basis because it's going all across the state. So we need that appropriated to materials and supplies, and we do have to, I'm going to create a separate line because we have to track so that we can show what they spent it on to the state. And then in the fire department, we've been approved, these funds haven't come in yet, but they will be coming in capital outlay, $12,487.98, and this is a Marks grant for the fire department equipment. So this is just an in and out on that. And then under general government, and gee, it's in my department, unfortunately, in personal services, we need to appropriate $7,000. Somehow, zero was missing in the budget. It was supposed to be $7,700 went in instead, and that made it a little difficult to pay OPERS. So we need to correct that problem. So these are all from unappropriated general funds.
That happened in the budget, or?
It's correct in what we passed in the ordinance,
Okay,
but it's wrong in the system.
okay. All right, so we do all these together, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion for these appropriations for March 1st? that Joyce just outlined?
So move.
As an emergency, sir?
As an emergency, yes, sir.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I guess, now I lost my first page. Oh, there. Let's see. So, we got that. Any public participation at the end of finance? Oh, there's Jenny.
Jenny Vermillion, 515 Hill Street.
Yep.
Just a quick question on the $7.20 EPA, whatever it is. Just a quick question, if it's not expiring until when?
July.
July? Why are we running it as an emergency?
I don't know. We would.
I guess out of force of habit that everything finance always is, but yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, I do too.
It doesn't matter to me as long as it just
Right,
flows.
right, and
Yeah.
I agree, as long as it
Yeah.
flows, but to me, 3-4 months out, not an emergency.
Yeah.
So how
So
do
I'm
we
just saying,
correct that?
thank you.
Do I have a motion to modify that?
I will modify my motion not to make it an emergency.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Right, typically we get things that, yeah, it's gotta be,
Finance in my head is always.
Like these are.
we gotta have this by next Tuesday. Okay, any other public participation? Okay, thanks, Jenny. I'll adjourn here at 6:38.
Ready?
Okay, it is Thursday, February 17th, 6:39 PM, and this is the Public Lands and Buildings Committee meeting.
I'm calling the Public Lands and Buildings Committee meeting for February 17th to order at 6:39 PM. Do we have any public participation?
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes,
Could you
sir.
state the members present for the
Oh,
recording, please?
yes, sorry. 1 second, sir. Members present. Brenton Potter, Dan Wirebaugh, and Kevin Myers. And myself, Chair.
What's her name?
The guy across the room.
Thank you.
All right, so now can I have public participation?
Kurt Fankhauser, 616 Prospect Street. I wanted to speak on something that was on the agenda, but it can wait till you bring it up. I just wanted to make sure I was going to be able to speak, because I don't know if something's changed with the council rules to where the public's only allowed to give input during the beginning or the end of the meeting or something, like Dan kind of said. Is that true now?
Yes, but
Yeah.
she, as the chair, has the right to
I have the right to
amend
change
that
that.
if you need.
Which topic are you looking at talking on?
The Shines cameras.
Oh. Duh. Of course that's the one. Sorry. Do you want to just go ahead?
I can wait until you get to.
Okay, all right, so we will save Mr. Fankhauser for the Shines cameras. Do we have any other public participation? All right. So we have here the minutes from January 20th meeting for you guys to peruse, and I'll ask if anybody has a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, so next on our list is the ambulance building.
I had a couple of people show interest in the ambulance building. One was actually another ambulance company, and then was just another individual that was interested in maybe wanting to buy it. And I said, well, I got to take it to council to see what route they would want to do. So I'm bringing it to you and opening for discussion.
What happened to the fire department using that?
Well, right now, they have 6 per shift, and we can make room for some of the equipment at the street, or at the water department on Irving Street. But Chad will probably speak on that I think he wants to use it for his department, but I just think there's revenue there, and it'd really be nice if we had a backup ambulance here in the city. But we haven't sat down and talked about any particulars.
Yeah, I wish you guys had invited Chad so he could talk to us at the same time. Oh, there he is, never mind. Hi, Chad. Chad's hiding in the corner.
So it's really just open for discussion.
Yeah.
That's what we brought it up for.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
would it relieve you guys some if another ambulance service came in? Would that be helpful to you guys at all?
No, it would just be, another ambulance company would be relief to the, more to the nursing homes and possibly to the hospital for their transfers, but for helping us for emergency services, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Well, the other-
We rely upon the, with Holmes Township, Galleon, for more of our mutual aid.
They do have the contract with Avita too, though. So that was there, it would be a nice location for them to be in, so they could take care of Avita's calls, so, or transports, I should say.
Maybe a meet out again. Building.
Well, we were getting $1,500 a month, and they were paying the utilities. So when they moved out, we had it all turned over to the city account, so.
How would it help you?
Well, that's what I was just, my request was that before you make a decision, that have the council members come up and tour our station and the others and see the amount of room that we have, because we're stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Currently, the ladder truck is down at Station 2. Oh, sorry. I thought I was talking about it. So, anyways, currently the ladder truck is down at Station 2 because we've been having some issues with some doors and stuff at the station. So we're working on getting those fixed. But it really, with the ladder truck back in the station, I've got 2 squads going out the front that have to be stacked behind one another. And so that any time one goes out and the other one doesn't, you're constantly jockeying vehicles from the first out to second out, back and forth, and different things. And then the third out truck is running out of the back of the station, which is when it comes to shift shift change and stuff, there's not enough parking. Luckily, we haven't had any complaints about parking, but multiple people have been having to park on the sidewalk on the side of the station just so that we can, move vehicles around and stuff for people to come and go.
Yes, sir?
When that station opened in 1977, there was a crew there and a crew at the main central station. Do you foresee ever having the need or desire to split your shift up and put somebody stationed down there?
It would be nice. It's just we know that it's gonna take some work, and it's one of those that we haven't done much planning on that. That I'm going to say that currently I'm operating out of a building that's 117 years old that was designed for horses.
Yes.
So to have all that equipment there and with the additional service, I'm not saying that I need a new building right away, but it needs to be looked at. That even the other stations, 47 years old. Both of them are very old buildings. So.
Well, that's, if I can continue, if that's all right. That's one of the things I talked to the administration about. I said, I'd like to see us, at some point try to start thinking about what the future looks like. We don't need to build a new station this year, but I think we need to start discussing it. And they agreed with that. And they said, we need to start that process of looking at what the future is going to be. I agree with them wholeheartedly. I'd love to see us find new ways to generate revenue, but I think if there's a need for you for it, I think that comes first above bringing in a little extra revenue. And I mean no disrespect to you gentlemen by saying it that way. I think that our safety services come first, and the ability to use that building to generate revenue would be secondary to that. So that's where I stand.
Well, my next question would then be, and if our fire and ambulance didn't need it, what about the townships around us? I've heard people say things about wanting to put something so that they'd have something closer. I mean, they didn't become part of our ambulance district, but that doesn't mean we still don't try to help out our neighbor.
They would want to build something in their townships, not inside the city limits. Their volunteers have to run lights and sirens in their personal vehicles from where they live in their township, so that would be counterproductive.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so do we have anything else about the ambulance building this time? We're just going to let it sit while we figure out what we really need?
Well, I think the chief basically said if you want to come down and look
He
at it.
invited us down.
Yeah, I would do that, and then,
Tour them both.
yeah, and then maybe sometime in the second meeting in March, we can bring it back up again.
Yes, sir.
What about just gathering more data? Tours is certainly important. What about actually getting an appraisal on the building to give us a good idea if it's worth $200,000, $300,000. And then that'll help you make a decision what you want to do with it. So.
And appraisals, though, not what somebody's willing to pay you for it. That's my only, do we have to pay for an appraisal?
Yes.
I wouldn't until we know that it's no longer needed. Because for now, I think it's still going to be needed until we get plans to build something new.
I would definitely think the same.
I would hate to sell it and then they end up needing it for something. That's my big.
Well, I didn't say you have to sell it. I just said, you can make maybe a better decision if you have more facts.
Pretty sure that the idea of selling is like off the table from the comments that I've heard so far at this point. So that doesn't really make a better decision for us. It's whether or not we need it or whether or not we can rent it out for now. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to table that one again. All right, so then we've got the annexation of 1145 West Mansfield Street.
I don't think that's in this committee.
I didn't think so either. I thought it was platting.
I'm sorry, I think I have it on there too.
It is in platting.
Sorry,
I mean,
guys.
unless we can make that public lands, and I've got some ideas.
You're all invited.
All right, so now that we skipped past that and placed it in the right spot, the trash dumpsters in the city lots.
All right, yeah, I brought that up. I've been on this for years. Everybody knows. But as you see some of the pictures here, I'll give you, here's last Friday's. Yeah, the one. That's last Friday's trip. No, that's last Friday's trip. I just drove around probably 15 minutes. And so one thing I did discover is now we have, several lots have a recycling dumpster on them, which are the one at one, I don't want to mention any businesses here, so I'm not going to mention any businesses because that's not my intent. My intent is, there was one picture in there, you can see a couple mattresses leaning against there. And I don't think that's from any of those businesses because one's a restaurant. And so I think someone's dumped those mattresses there. Anyhow, we talk about we tore down Freddy's, or whatever you want to call it, Good Eats. Us older people call it Freddy's, don't we? So we tore down Good Eats, Freddy's, and we're going to put this beautiful park in there. And then people's going to drive around and see this kind of stuff, you know. It's just kind of doesn't make sense to me. But the other issue is, and the mayor helped out on that, and I guess they got it out of the, Kevin said they've taken one of the dumpsters was blocking a sidewalk a couple weeks ago. The mayor got that taken care of. Well, it ended up
It was in a parking place
that's when
yesterday, and you said it was moved today, correct?
It's on the other side.
It's on the end of the private property one, but yesterday it was on the city lot, but off of the sidewalk in a parking space.
So, you know, we talked about, or you know, a couple years ago, we put in the budget to repair all these parking lots, you know, so that shoppers and things can use them for businesses downtown. And then we got dumpsters taking up a couple spots. It doesn't make any sense to me either. But I guess I'm just bringing this to everyone's attention and seeing if there's anything we can do.
Mr. Meyer?
The only part of that I also am troubled with is, you know, brand new surface. Once or twice a week, that dumpster's being dropped. It's not gonna take long to absolutely ruin what we just spent our money on, and that's not our fault. You know, I totally get the fact that these businesses need a place to put their things. You know, they're operating out of a building that was built before there was such a thing as a trash dumpster. I am gonna bring up a couple business names, though, not because of the business, but for an example. Because what's the alternative? If you look at the one behind Dillinger's and the Crazy Fox is where we're talking about, and if you tell the Crazy Fox you can no longer put a dumpster there, what's the alternative? Well, and I see what the American Legion does. They keep all their trash inside until trash day, and then you look out and there's 42 bags of trash laying on the curb all day long. I don't know which is worse, and I don't mean any disrespect to them by that, but that's something that we also don't want to be looking at. And so I don't know what the right answer is. I wish we'd have talked about this a little bit more in depth before we built these lots and maybe leased them a space that had a fence. And maybe that's still a reality. Maybe we can say, you know, it's going to cost you blank amount if you want to leave this on our spot, but we have to put up a shield around it, you know, just for the aesthetics of it. If that's the case and we do that, then you've got the... Let me finish my.
Brought that up.
Well, let me finish my thought before I forget it. If we do that, that particular spot is going to continue to be ruined by the dumpster being set down, but they're now paying us for whatever we think that damage is going to cost, is what I would suggest if we're going to lease a spot. So that's one possible solution.
I say Bruce brought that up before.
Yeah, we talked about that in the
And
past.
somebody said something about the fact that because the oils and stuff at a lot of places, that you really are supposed to have a concrete pad underneath those dumpsters.
Yeah, that's why I said I wish we'd have
And,
solved this.
well, but then, most of the dumpsters were no longer at that point in time on the city lots, they were on the other lots.
Yeah, which it's my understanding that the gentleman that owns that lot has allowed that, and I think he has no intentions of disallowing that from what I've heard. So, you know, is that a case where we need to say, hey, look, you got a guy that's got an older lot that's not freshly paved, that's not used by taxpayers. Do we just push for that? And that's only one location. We've got another city lot, you know, within walking distance of here, where there's, you know, dumpsters that are sitting on our spot. That particular business was offered the opportunity to purchase that lot and declined. Put it up on your lot then. You know, you're on to our property. You had the chance to obtain that property. You didn't need it.
And that's something we need to, I do think that we do need to look into that, because, yeah, if you've got a place to put it other than on the city property, the city lots were specifically kept so that the businesses could have parking. not, you know. And if you turn down being able to buy a city lot, but you want to use it, that's, I have a problem with that too. I mean,
Yeah.
fine, then you didn't need that space, so why are you using it for anything, including, you know, your employee parking or whatnot?
But there's 2-hour parking in all, oh,
Yes, sir?
Do we have an ordinance that says dumpsters need to be screened?
yes. Ordinance 1171.04, 1173.04, and 1175.04 for the downtown business, general business, and what's the other one?
So would you want to have our building inspector, when he gets back to work, send letters out to them? Is that what you're?
It's a zoning issue.
It's a zoning issue, yes.
It-
Yes, it is.
It's a zoning issue. I mean, if we could just send out a letter saying, hey, we've got an issue.
I don't think we should go and say, you got 30 days to get this done. I think, my personal opinion would be, send them letters, how can we work on this? If it takes 6 months, 18 months, or a year,
Could the letter invite him in to have a conversation, whether it be with us or with you guys? Well, I mean, I think you guys can handle that. and-
What you have to decide first is, are you going to charge for space? You have to decide in the city parking lot, is that what you're, because that'll have to be part of the presentation.
right.
We already have an ordinance for the screening.
Yeah.
But we don't have anything on the books.
Well, I think just because of the fact that it's going to damage that, I think you have to charge for that. And I think maybe you guys, through your engineers, can determine if I'm gonna have to replace this piece, what's that gonna cost me? I
What's
don't
it
think we
gonna-
need to start charging them thousands and thousands of dollars. I think if they say that it's gonna take $482 to replace this section that they're gonna be damaging, well, we should probably charge them $482 a year. I don't think we need to make a profit off of it. I think we just need to cover
I was
our,
thinking keep
our
it
exposure.
Specifically for that purpose.
Then the next question is whose responsibility is it gonna be to put the screening up? Ours, theirs, we need to determine that.
It should be theirs. And just, now, you've got,
What's in the ordinance?
it's theirs, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
You've got.
but that's if it's on their property. If it's on our
Right.
property, does that change that?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that could be worked
That's
into a
true.
lease agreement, I think, for the spot.
So, well, and that's true too, but, you know, then we're covering the upfront cost, you know, on.
So our next step is we need to send out a letter and invite everybody who's.
We need to make people aware of this
Yeah.
ordinance.
This is here.
Yeah,
We need to do something about it. Can you all come in to either a council meeting or to see the mayor, you know,
So we need to, we need to get a list of who may possibly be in violation then, so. Do you have a list so far, or do you want to?
Just take a walk.
He's got a list.
yeah, Kevin?
All right.
I want to bring up another question just for discussion's sake. I'm not sure how I feel about this yet, but I know Bruce Trucker brought it up in the past, and so I want to pose this again for discussion's sake. We talk about, you know, one of our spaces on our lot. If I lease that space to you for your business, does it matter to me as the city whether they're utilizing the city's dumpster or whether they're bringing in another private company? Does that come into play at all? Should that be part of the conversation? Should we say, well, you need to utilize our dumpster or not?
Well, we've had that discussion, and we're short of dumpsters, so that means.
So we don't care one way or
We
the
might
other?
have to go buy some, and then that's
Okay.
not in the budget.
I just
I was
wanted,
saying, I
that
don't-
question was never really answered.
Yeah.
I don't see pushing somebody and saying, not only do you have to rent our space, but you have to rent our dumpster, you
Yeah.
have to rent our this,
Yeah.
you know, I think that starts to be a monopoly, and I don't like those ideas. I like
Fair enough.
people-
I would also consider if you would do that and we start increasing our tonnage to the landfill, we're gonna increase our cost. And it's already going on $325,000 a year. So,
So in some senses, it's better for them to use somebody else.
unfortunately,
Okay.
yes.
Maybe we should get out of the dumpster business.
We're charging.
So, well, then the other point, well, and I made that point that now we have and nothing against, I'm all for recycling, but, oh, okay, go ahead, John.
One thing that you may want to have the law director take a look at, since we're dealing with real property and real estate, I believe there's something that it has to go through the bid process. So even though you are
Right.
potentially only leasing a small amount of space, you may still need to go through the bid process and have those businesses bid on that space. So if there's a way to navigate that, I would ask that, you have the law director consider that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, Brian.
And I would say maybe the CIC can help alleviate some of that too.
So, I guess, so then now we've got these, which I guess I didn't realize this, but we have the recycling dumpsters also on several of these lots. And I called out there, or I made contact out there. And apparently they're charged, or they rent the dumpster for $20 a month, and then whatever's called county recycling, they come and get the dumpster, but for cardboard. So we've got, like Wendy's, well, I shouldn't have said that, but anyhow, a certain restaurant downtown.
That rhymes with Wendy's.
Yeah, that has one on our lot. And that was the point I was getting at, the donut place across here and Wendy's and any new business that comes in, they build a really nice place and they follow the ordinance and they do really good. But now we've got the cardboard ones, and I don't know that's probably going to tick off the county recycling, but what do you do about those?
Who's running them?
Huh?
Who's running them? Is it the
The
county?
Businesses.
But I don't see where that's any different than any other dumpster.
Yeah,
It's a
I
big
think
metal
so.
container that stuff's getting put in. Doesn't matter whether it's garbage or whether it's
Well,
cardboard. And
I-
I'm not trying to say we shouldn't be recycling. I'm glad they're doing that. But I think if you're gonna say that it needs screened from the public view, then it follows the same rules.
Right.
And that's not on the county to do that. That would be on the person renting said
Oh,
dumpster.
that's what I was saying. I mean,
Yeah.
put it there. I mean,
Well, they probably won't rent it then, if, it's $20 a month now, but if they have to put up another screen for, wow, $5,000, $6,000 or whatever, something cheap, they say, well, heck with that, we'll just throw it all in the same dumpster. Go ahead.
I just heard $6,000 in cheap and my head just started. Sorry.
Cheap, not sheep.
Okay, so our first step would be to reach out to the businesses and have Mr. Gerner do his homework while we reach out to the businesses and see if we can start coming up with an idea that we can all work with. I mean, we may not have to do a whole lot here with it. I mean, it might work itself out.
Can you consider doing I don't want to use the word town hall, but that style of a meeting where you invite them in just for a conversation and say, here's what our current ordinance is, here's the problems we're having, what solutions do you guys have to offer? What would work for you, what would not work for you? Put it back on them a little bit, that way we're not coming in heavy-handed, we're willing to work with them.
I think it's a good idea.
But, let's make the people that are creating the problem part of the solution.
Because we really do need to be working a lot better on our ordinances and I mean, we have them there for a reason.
And the other thing too, you kind of walk a fine line right now because of the effects of COVID. Some businesses are thriving, other ones are struggling. And, I think Kevin, you brought this up, you aren't gonna give them a 30-day. I mean, you wanna work with
Right.
them over
Right.
time to get them in.
Yeah, we're not coming in to punish them,
Yeah.
but I think we need to work together to solve a problem.
Right, we can do that.
I like that. I think that's a good approach.
It looks like a lot of these businesses are franchise owned to begin with.
Some are,
So
yeah.
I doubt that they'll be struggling too hard.
Yeah.
Some,
Yeah.
others, All right. Now that we've talked about that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Shines cameras.
Yeah, I asked for that to be put in committee because I had got a question about that, so I think maybe well, first, my only question was, I saw the estimate that you got for the cameras, and it looked like $3,000 of it was, of the $6,000 was contract, oh no, between a new computer and something they contracted out. That just seemed kind of steep to me, but I just wondered, had you gotten any other, you got
No,
more than one bid on that, or?
No, we sent it out on January 17th, and it was due back by January 28th, and we only got one
We
proposal.
just got the one proposal. All right, I don't know, but, did you have something on that, Kurt? I'm not taking over the meeting.
No, you were fine. No, because he is the one that brought it up, so he was explaining, and then,
Well, first, Dan, I want to thank you for putting that in the committee to be discussed tonight. The last time it was brought up here at the council, it was kind of mentioned that the police need access. And the mayor suggested that we get the police chief and sit down and have a meeting and see what can be done. And I was waiting, and then I never got the call for the meeting. And then I seen a proposal go out that they sent out there request for quotes, which is kind of different than a regular
Bid, yeah.
request for bid procedure because the Board of Control isn't involved. And I seen it, because I thought this thing needed to be down in the police department so they could have access, trying to identify a suspect real quick, and then I seen this thing for going up in the mayor's or the service director's office. I'm like, what in the world does he need that up there for unless he's just watching the squirrels and the birds? And
I do that.
And, I didn't submit a bid because I don't want to charge the city. I want to donate, help. I feel like I'm very knowledgeable in this area. I'm a local business person in town here that, I enjoy helping my community. And, I offered basically to match the other proposal, no cost to the city. And, as we heard Joyce say tonight, the budget's tight. Budget is tight. So, there's a pending lawsuit, and I thought, if the city was to go out and spend that much money, what kind of message does that send? Hey, we've got money to waste. So, I guess I'm here to answer any questions. I seen, I was watching the meeting Tuesday, I seen Dan brought it up. I thought, okay, good, they're gonna start talking about this. I want to get a phone call that says, hey, come up here to the meeting Thursday night. I was never even contacted. The only reason I'm here right now is because I just happened to be watching that Tuesday meeting. So, that proposal, it also was going to need to have another monthly internet connection from Time Warner installed. So on top of that, you're going to have monthly fees continually. I could offer something that has no monthly fees.
When did you email back your proposal?
I said I never did. I just said, I replied back and said
When?
I'll match what the other vendor came up with.
When?
After John emailed me their proposal.
Yeah, which was after the due date.
But how was I gonna know what their proposal was?
You don't know. You put your own together.
Well, I was never, brought in and said, hey, this is what we're looking for.
Well,
I think Mr. Rostash emailed you that, did he not?
He sent out the original RFQ. But, as far as whether the RFQ is statutorily obligated, like the city doesn't have to say, hey, we sent out an RFQ, we're obligated to do something. They can say, hey, we had somebody else came forward, they're willing to donate, maybe we're gonna rethink this thing. And, the other thing, I've wanted to have this discussion for years, but I could never get the meeting to do it with the police chief and the administration. There's other cameras that are pointed at city property that I think we could tie those in with, like City Lot 3, for example. How critical would that be to the police department if they could see and play back something on there from down in their department all night long? I'm willing to do something like that. So,
Well, I would suggest you get a proposal of some sort and send in to them and let them review it.
what I'd like to sit down with the police chief and the administration and, see what their needs are and everything.
I can't speak for them. All I know is, we kind of shuffle around the money and this and that, and they take care of getting a bid and making things happen, so you know that. So, I mean, I just knew that you had a question about it. I thought I'd put it in committee, and I think it's,
I know
one of my
the
questions
things-
was that the only bid, so.
One of the things that was brought up was security of the cameras and the people that were supposed to see it, which, was the police department and maybe other people in the building, but the police department versus everybody in town or YouTube or any other, all the cameras should just go to the police department so they have it if they needed
Well,
it.
I think that thing needs to be in the police department. I've always thought that. Because, like if it's in the service director's office, let's say something happened one night, they got to identify a suspect right now. If it's in their department, they can pull that back, play it back, they got them. If it's sitting up there, they got to go upstairs. I don't know if they've got 24/7 access to the office,
I do believe
Wait,
it's
wait,
gonna
wait,
funnel through the
wait,
police
wait.
department.
Hey, wait, Brenton, did you have something?
The only thing I was going to say is that you had mentioned in your email that with the cost savings to the city of $6,172, that it would allow to free up some money to replace the downtown light bulbs to
Yeah,
a
that
more white
was
light bulb.
something that was put on hold last year from,
I understand that, but you're contradicting what you're saying about spending money frivolously. You said if we spent money on these cameras, that it would show that we just had this money to spend.
what I was referring to with that was if they're going to absolutely say, hey, we got it dead set, we want to spend $6,000, whether it's on this, or this other thing. What I was referring to there was we have this other pending thing that we could take care of that issue with that. I mean, I'm fine if they don't spend any money, but if you're going to spend money, let's start taking care of these other pending issues that were in committees and stuff.
Okay, Jeff, sorry.
No,
Brenton had kind of been like, so since he'd motioned, I wasn't trying to jump people.
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
I don't have anything else.
Are you sure? Okay. Does anybody else have anything? All right.
No.
So, yeah. All right, so maybe we can,
No, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
I know what's going on here. We hate Kurt so much that we don't even want to accept a donation from him. That's what it is. Let's waste the taxpayer money. That's what you guys are doing.
we haven't even, have we voted to pay for cameras, or was that in a different?
No, it's
budget anyway?
it's probably in the budget, isn't it? It's under,
Yeah, so that's
it's
not-
under.
It's an
the
administrative
cost,
function.
Yeah,
So-
it's theirs. I just had a couple of questions on it, that's all.
So do you guys not want to meet with him and at least hear it out? Is that off the table?
No, we've already put it out to bid. We got one bid already on it, so
Well, that wasn't,
he had a chance to bid on it and missed it, so.
If
Okay.
I may, Mr. Gurner, do you have another part of that for the cameras?
So absolutely, having it in the police department would be vital. So if you ever have to go to court and you have your photographs or your video off-site, then you have to subpoena in whoever is the keeper of that server, and anything about the keeper of that server is subject to cross-examination for credibility. The security of that server comes into question, and so if it's on-site, you've got the police department, they've got their security, their firewalls, and that's what police departments do. They keep records, they keep data, they keep evidence. And so having it in the police department from a prosecutor standpoint would be top-notch, as opposed to, no offense, but as opposed to calling in a third party to come in and testify as to what their technology is, and that it's not breachable, and that it couldn't be modified, altered, and that they're, whatever. That would be the way to go.
I just want to add, I agree with Brian. He's top notch. He knows this stuff.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I talked with Brian about cameras before, and as far as the comment that was made about, oh, he missed the bid, I don't want to charge the city. You can say at this point, oh, we don't like the bids we got back, we want to, reassess the situation. There's no legal obligation statutorily to move forward with the single quote that was received. I was sent the RFQ, and I had a couple different options I could do. I could submit an RFQ for $20,000, I could submit an RFQ for $1. What I would like to do is get a tax deductible donation for what this actually should cost, which I wanted to wait and see what the other quote was. And I didn't know what their quote was going to be until after the quotes came back in, and it was took kind of long to made a public records request for their quote. It kind of took longer than I thought it should to get that back in. But, yeah, it's whatever.
Let's
just waste the money.
Do we have anything else on that?
Nope.
Right, so now the splash pad is on our agenda.
I think we covered that.
I
didn't we?
was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We just got ideas as to what the difference would be there. So, all right, do we have any other public participation? Okay, with that, I will adjourn. I had to think of the word, sorry. Public lands at 7:17 PM.
Okay, it is Thursday, February 17th, 7:18 p.m. and this is the Health and Safety Committee meeting.
Call Health and Safety to order, 7:18 p.m. Members present, Steve Young, Dan Wirebaugh, and Kevin Myers, Chair. Mark McKeever is absent. Any public participation for Health and Safety? Seeing none, we'll move on. You have before you the minutes for the January 20th, 2022 regular Health and Safety Committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Young, second by Mr. Wirebaugh. Any discussion? If not, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Traffic light project, I think we got an update from Mr. Dunn on that. I don't think anything else needs to come at this point. Sales of derelict buildings, this was something that Mr. Wirebaugh brought up, so I'll turn the floor over to you, sir.
That seems like it's my day, doesn't it?
It is your day.
So this come to my attention because I'll put this right out there. The house beside my mom's, what is it called? The reutilization. Are you on that? You're on that?
Yep.
The reutilization. I talked to Barb.
Yep, the land bank for.
Land bank, yeah, okay, so they're trying to sell it. And yeah, it's in pretty bad shape. Well, I talked to her and I told her that according to our ordinance, if I read it right, I'm not the legal guy here, but if I read it right, they have 30 days to get that back up to snuff, which is not going to happen. So when I talked to her, and we either need to put something together where they can do this. Now, you guys might know Steve Piper did his house, and that was probably the first one. This is only the second one, isn't it?
Yeah, and the backstory in this one is when the land bank first obtained it, 99% of the homes that the land bank takes, they have intentions of demolishing them. It doesn't always happen within 30 days, I'll give you that. This particular one, Judge Luthold had interest in it, in obtaining ownership of it and using it as part of a re-education and rehabilitation program. And he came in and gave us a presentation at a land bank meeting. He was going to basically train, convicted felons that needed work experience and train them to learn these tasks so that they can go out and get jobs doing that. And at some point, he changed his mind. And I only learned that through this process after you talked to Barb. I talked to Barb as well, and I had learned that the judge was no longer interested. So what the land bank is doing is, seeing if it was able to be sold. And I think if there's no interest, then they're going to go ahead and demolish it.
So that, well, apparently, she just said there was someone that was interested in it. That's why they were trying to sell it,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, somebody approached, they normally wouldn't have just put it up for sale.
Right.
But
That's-
somebody did approach her was what the story
Yeah,
was.
well,
So you're
see,
right there.
last-
You're talking about 205 Dudley.
205 Dudley.
205, yeah.
So I talked to a guy yesterday who wants to buy it and rehab it, so could be.
Yeah, it could be someone else then.
Could be
That's
someone
who I
else, not
talked,
the
when did I
judge.
talk to her?
Yeah, he dropped his interest, but.
There's a different guy who's rehabbed several
Yeah.
houses in the community that's interested in it.
Yeah,
so.
and that's okay, but like I say, I think our ordinance, if you look at it, it says you only have a certain amount of time.
Right.
And so, and it also said that there needs to be pictures, and there's all kinds of things that they have to go through with our, so what they're doing is not jiving with our ordinance. So we need to change our ordinance for them, or
So do you think it should be changed only
or
for
they
the
need
land
to
bank?
get a variance or something. They need to get a variance. That's why I was talking to her, that maybe they need to get a variance
Or submit a plan?
and submit a plan. And like she said, they will own it until it's done, It's not, you're not gonna, and that was one of my concerns too. I think it was the house up on the corner of Mansfield and Highland. We had the guy, it got in trouble and he sells it. Well, the next guy, he lets somebody rent it and move in, and that's the one they had the bucket under the toilet, next floor down.
Yeah, what we did with Steve Pfeiffer's was the land bank retained ownership and they did a land contract.
Right.
And he had, that given time to show progress. And as long as that continued, that was fine. And if he didn't show progress, the land bank would take it back and then proceed with plans to demolish it. And I think that's good because you see a lot of places, and I'll use school buildings as an example. A lot of the
Yeah.
school buildings that get abandoned and then they just deteriorate. We didn't want to see that be the
Right.
case. We
Right,
didn't
well,
we didn't just want to sell it to him for a couple grand and then it sat there and nothing happened. So from that standpoint, I'm happy the way that goes. But I don't know if we need to amend the ordinance, just allowing special provisions for the land bank only.
I know Gordon Groves, my property maintenance inspector, has a lot of different ideas about how to streamline and amp up the property maintenance side of things. He's laid off until probably March or so when the weather breaks, but I would bring him here to talk to you guys about some of his ideas. I know tomorrow I have a meeting with a guy who does receivership. So we file on a house, and I don't exactly know the entire process, but we file on a nuisance property based upon, it's falling in on its structure. The court orders it into this receivership program. This program revamps the house if they want it, and then the property owner can either then pay the repairs or forfeit the house and then it gets sold through the receivership program, which maybe, because one of the problems is you get these landlords or homeowners that would probably maintain their property in a better manner, but they're stuck on $1,200 Social Security and they're raising their 3 grandchildren. I mean, they don't, as between feeding my grandkids and painting the front of my house, I'm feeding my grandkids. So, and we do work with a lot of people. We send them a notice of violation, try to make contact with them, say these are your 7 things that are in violation of our code. You need to get 4 of them done in 30 days and we'll give you an extension. So try to keep their feet to the fire. Some of those derelict properties too are owned by like large real estate holding companies out of Texas or out of, you know, and so you send you send your notice, it goes in their shredder and they never show up to court, and there's really nothing that we can do about that unless maybe we proceed through the receivership and basically take their property, fix it, and then they can either buy it or they forfeit it. But I don't know the entirety of that process, but it's interesting to me.
Right. Well, does someone have something? Oh, one thing I'd like to see is, because I've seen this happen a couple times, I'd like to see that if Gordon has cited someone that that house can't be sold with
And that is in the code, I believe.
Yeah, but
They're not
I don't
supposed
think
to
it happens,
transfer.
though.
Well, so there's the law, and then
It does?
yeah, I mean it does, but then there's the enforcement, right? So
Right.
if they sell
It's
it,
the-
what's the penalty?
Right. Yeah.
Are you content letting this lie on the
Oh,
table
yeah.
until Gordon comes back to work and they can
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
I
give us a
just want
presentation
to
and see where we can
get,
go with it?
you know, talking to her, and
Okay.
and I just don't want, you know.
Just let us know when you're ready. We'll leave us an open project and you let us know when you're ready to
I think
move
beginning
forward.
of March is roughly.
Yeah, I'd sent him an email, didn't hear back, I figured he was off.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of weeks.
I've got an open projects question for you. Any update or movement on the taxi cab legislation that we discussed?
It's on my desk.
Okay.
I have not really delved into it.
I haven't had a chance to ask you about it. It just hit my head right there, so.
Yes,
wanted to
no,
ask you
I
before I forgot.
looked at paperwork today, but
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else that's an open project that the two of you wish to bring up?
No.
Any public participation to wrap up health and safety?
Does it have to be for health and safety?
Yes.
I previously brought up the EMS money that is billed and that going into a separate fund.
I got an answer on that. It cannot, according to the state, Joyce was told by the state auditors that it has to go back into the general fund. It cannot go into a separate fund.
Okay.
Any other public participation? All right, health and safety is adjourned at 7:27 PM.
Mics are on. All right, it is Thursday, February 17th, 7:29 PM, and this is the Economic Development Committee meeting.
All right, I will call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order at 7:29 PM. Members present, Aaron Sherrick, Steve Young, and myself, Chair, with Mark McKeever being absent. Do we have any public participation? Seeing none, I will move on to the approval of minutes from Thursday, January 20th's Economic Development regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we've got the Crawford County Economic Development Partnership on the agenda, but I think Dan and everybody covered that pretty well, unless there's any other input on that. We'll move on to the bed tax. That should be in a different committee,
Right, that
correct?
tax should actually be in the finance committee.
Okay.
So we will at the next meeting, we refer that to the proper committee.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the DORA application. Mr. Gernert, do you have anything on that?
We will be publishing, there's no requirement that we have a hearing, I don't believe. Yes, within 45 days after the application is filed, we have to publish notice of the application in a general newspaper. And then not earlier than 30 days, but not later than 60 days after our initial publication, the legislative authority would have to approve or disapprove the application. So my thought was we would publish it and then basically set a date at a regular meeting to either pass it or not pass it. And between then and whenever the public wants to participate, if the public wants to come to meetings to discuss the same, we're open for that, but we don't necessarily have to have a specific public hearing just on the DORA application unless you guys wanted to do that.
Would it be advisable if we don't have to do a public hearing to advertise it, when we put out our meeting agenda, and everything? Should we say, hey, we're going to be talking about this, if you have,
And invite the
yeah,
Jess
make
and-
sure that people really know, boost that that's what that part of the meeting's about?
Yeah.
I mean,
And we can put that on the agenda. Megan can do that.
Oh, sorry. I still shouldn't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, so if we're gonna go forward with the DORA, the thought was we publish it and then we set a meeting and we intend to approve or disapprove it at this meeting. Please come and voice your opinion. So when we put out our meeting notices, we make a.
Would it be good?
How soon can we do that at the next regular meeting, or?
It has to be published 30 days.
For 30 days.
Would it be good to
So
put
if I publish-
in the publication?
Yeah, I can put it
We'll
in
meet about this on this
the
date?
meeting to approve. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Say when I'll post.
You, Rob.
Okay, is that all we need to do for that then?
Then I guess the only other thing is, on that DORA, I don't know if you guys have read through it, but the legislative authority has the right to change the terms, the conditions. This one basically says Monday through Saturday, noon to 10 p.m. in the designated zone, you can purchase alcoholic beverages. There's like a red, yellow, green system, so if a business wants to participate and they sell alcohol, they have a green sticker on their window. If they want to participate but they don't sell alcohol, they have a yellow sticker on their window. If they don't sell alcohol and they don't want you in their business with alcohol, they put a red sticker on your window, so it's kind of easily noticeable. This one basically says year-round. I know there was some concern about the Bratwurst Festival, First Friday, probably not First Fridays as much, but some of those downtown events, the car shows, this is year-round without exception, but anyways.
Yeah, that was definitely a question I had, was because when we set this up before, they made sure that it specifically went around not doing this during the Bratwurst Festival, like that was the one time a year that it was a no.
And I think it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 to 10 on Thursdays and Fridays, Saturdays, noon to 10 or something, which seems sort of burdensome on store owners to know what periods and when they're allowed and when they're not allowed.
I'd rather have it set.
Yeah, I
Just
prefer,
what
I
time frame,
don't
that's just
really like the idea of it during the Bratwurst Festival at all.
Well, then,
No,
But then it's
you
till
do
10
noon to
PM.
10,
And just
year-round.
Saturday, yeah.
10
Except-
PM for like the first Fridays or the movie nights, that's
Oh, I
a
don't
little
know.
early. You would think you'd want to have it later on those.
I go to bed by then, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's all subject to change, obviously. We just put it together to submit it.
Mr. Myers?
Kevin Myers, 421 West Oakwood. If I remember correctly, when we discussed this last year, this body, the council body, has the option, if you say you're going to do it year-round from this time to this time, this body can make adjustments to that during that time through legislation. So, for instance, car show. I think in that instance, you go to the FOP and you say, do you guys want it or not want it? when you have the legislation that we passed to close the streets, it could then be included in that. Same for the Bratwurst Festival for street closures. As the director of the festival, I'm opposed to having the DORA active during those 3 days. So if that's what this body decides, then what we do is when we do the legislation to close the streets, we also mention that the DORA will be suspended from this time to this time. And I remember that being brought up, Ms. Stein, I think, shared with us that it's that easy to do, that this body has that control.
I kind of like having it right in it though for the festival. It's the same set weekend every week, or every year.
Does that fluctuate? She said the
No, the festival is
I missed your question, I couldn't hear you.
I said I kind of like having it right in it though about the festival because that was, everybody said no to that.
But it's not the
Correct,
same
but the
days,
date-
it's the same
It's
week.
the
The
same
date
weekend.
changes
It's
every
the
year
third
and-
weekend every year, so the third weekend it's off, the third weekend of August, you know.
You could also just specifically put that the DORA is suspended during the Bucyrus Bratwurst Festival.
Whatever days those fall
Yeah.
on.
Worcester has some sort of Worcester Fest, and it's off during the Worcester
Right,
Fest.
but when we do the legislation for street closures, it's easy to add that in too. You know, and I think that, to me, that's the cleanest way to do it, you know, because what happens if the Bratwurst Festival ceases to exist and then they decide to come back as the Hamburger Festival? You know, if the name change, I think if you just allow that to be addressed each time anybody comes in, so you would do the same thing for the car show. What happens if somebody decides they want to have a new event that we haven't even thought of yet? I think if you put that burden back on when that event is scheduled and the streets are closed, I think that sets up a good system for the future so that we don't miss something like that. If we put it in legislation now that says it's closed, or it's no longer able to be considered during the festival, during the car show, and then what happens when the next event is scheduled and it's not listed there. So that's my 2 cents worth. As the festival director, I feel strongly that I think it should be addressed each year through the street closure legislation.
I agree with that. You don't agree with that, Sharon?
I mean, we've gone through so much of this figuring out before, and that was the only thing everybody had agreed on was it shouldn't be during the Bratwurst Festival.
Well, that's what he's saying though.
Right, but to change, I mean, we were told full out that we could change things at any point in time after we got it passed. So having that just written in there, if somebody forgets or doesn't know that they have to request that, none of us are on the body, they don't know that they have to request that, the door just stayed open for the festival.
Street closure legislation is recycled from year to year, so it will be in the same legislation.
But
Steve?
I like the idea of keeping it open, not open for the festival, I'm sorry.
No, I know what you mean.
Right, the rest of it, yeah.
Keeping it fluid because, you know, kind of like earlier today, you know, we were talking about being locked in with pricing for 7 years, and we like that. Well, we're locking ourselves down for 5 years or whatever duration. Year by year, like Kevin said, do year by year. That way we can always adjust and move with what's happening in the city. And, you know, we know the Bratfest is there. I mean, we can adjust for the car show, we can adjust for whatever new.
It's happened the same weekend for however many years, but we see with COVID how quickly things can change. Shutdowns, moving things around and stuff.
It's the job of this group to be on top of it.
Yeah, the burden falls on us.
Yeah.
So
I like having that flexibility, I guess.
I do understand what you're saying, but I think that that's the better route. So, what do we need to do from here then, as far as?
Wait till it's published.
Just publish it and then we'll bring it back. If you guys read through it and have suggestions or changes, bring that back. We'll fix it and pass it if that's what the council wants to do.
Good. Last thing is public participation.
I do have one question on that, of the law director, just for procedurally. If you've made a publication of it and any changes are made, do you have to republish it for another 45 days, or can changes be made right prior to being voted on?
You would not have to republish it.
Okay.
I mean, people are on notice that it's being discussed and anything would be subject to modification in that we would just have to pass a
Jose, can you
ordinance.
put that in the wording in the publication just as a CYA? Sorry.
You're making his job difficult.
And then we would just have to pass a ordinance or resolution adopting it. If that's what you wanted to do.
When Rod Ratliff started this discussion, the DORA was limited to so many square miles for a town of our size, but I think the state has changed that to where it could be way bigger. Just thought you'd like to know that. Like, potentially, you could make it the entire city.
Right, we actually had somebody tell us that at one point, but we were still doing that test size that incorporated the areas, the groups that had already said they wanted to be a part of it.
Are you going to the DORA meetings with the chamber? Or?
Any other public participation? If not, we will adjourn economic development at 7:41 PM.
All right, it is Thursday, February 17th at 7:42 p.m. And this is the Service Committee meeting.
I'd like to call the Service Committee meeting to order at 7:42. Members present are Brandon Potter, Aaron Sherrick, Steve Young, and myself as chairman. Any public participation? Seeing none, we'll go on to the minutes. At the minutes from the January 20th regular Service Committee meeting to be approved.
I'll move to approve those.
Second.
You have a motion by Aaron, second by Brandon. Any more discussion? If not, vote. Say yeah.
Aye.
Okay, good enough. Okay, stormwater fee has already been discussed. Is there anything from this committee that needs to be brought up from anybody? That needs to be done? I know at our next one, we're going to have the ordinance changes from the stormwater. I think Megan sent that out to everybody, did you not? Or,
You did.
Changes to the stormwater.
yeah, the stormwater ordinance is on the next meeting. Service committee
Did you
meeting.
send out the
Yeah,
stormwater ordinance?
emails. Oh, maybe you didn't.
There was something.
She did, I thought so,
did.
yeah, I thought so. Well, that would be one of our top topics next time, so.
Okay.
Any more public participation? If not, I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:44.
You had the best meetings.
Yeah, well.
Okay, it is Thursday, February 17th, 7:45 PM, and this is the plating committee meeting.
All right, I'm going to call plating to order at 7:45. Members present are Terry Spiegel, Dan Wireball, myself acting chair. Chairman Mark McKeever is absent. Is there any public participation for plating this evening? I see none. Before you, you have the minutes from the January 20th, 2022 regular meeting and the January 27th, 2022 special plating committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion either collectively or individually to approve.
So moved.
For which one? Collectively?
Collectively.
Okay.
I'll second that collectively.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Spiegel and a second from Mr. Wireball to collectively approve these 2 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. That motion carries. Next up is the annexation consent agreement for 1145 West Mansfield Street. Mr. Garner.
The county already granted the annexation, so now they have to submit it to the clerk of council, and then after 60 days, having submitted to the clerk of council, this body has to pass an ordinance accepting or rejecting the annexation.
After 60 days after we've received it?
60 days after she receives the paperwork.
But she's not yet.
She has not yet. They passed that on Tuesday.
All right, so let's go ahead and put this on the agenda for our next plating meeting, assuming that you'll receive something by then. That way we don't forget about it and get into a situation where we were in the past.
God, dude.
That's it for that?
That's it.
Does anybody have any other plating open projects they wish to discuss? All right.
Nope. Oh.
I was waiting on you. You brought a lot up tonight. I thought you might have one more. Had one more in you. All right. Any other public participation for plating? Hearing none, we'll adjourn at 7:47 PM.
Dan?